The tense standoff that sent 3 Lake City police officers to the hospital has ended. We'll tell you what happened to the shooter and what's next in the investigation. The first verdict is in for the murder of 15-year-old Seth Jackson. Now, Charlie Ely didn't pull the trigger, but still faces a life sentence. And it's about the size of a school bus and it's falling from the sky. No one knows for sure when or where a dead satellite tumbling back to Earth will land, but we get some educated guesses. The TV 20 News at 11 starts now.
Now, from your local source, TV 20 News at 11 in high definition.
Good evening, Paige has the night off. A long police standoff, which began with 3 officers shot early this afternoon, has ended. The man who held officers at bay for several hours has been found dead in his home. Now, we have team coverage of this incident, beginning with TV 20's Duke Carter by telephone. Duke, what can you tell us about the shooter?
Good evening, David. Right now, everything is somewhat back to normal. Columbia County deputies did set a command post and found that the suspect did have several weapons inside his house. He had long guns, shotguns, and explosives. Out at the house, Columbia County deputies also was trying to keep his car at bay, and when the suspect saw that, he released gas chemicals in the air. They also saw that once he did release the gas chemicals in the air, he had a mask to protect himself. And also, this is also hasn't been confirmed yet, but they are saying that he didn't have a bulletproof vest. Also, several agencies used equipment to try to get into the house and call to him, but the suspect did not call or did not respond to any of the phone calls. They used a robot to try to unlock and push the door in. And when the Columbia County deputies went inside, they saw the suspect moving around the house and tried to run. But eventually, the suspect did take his own life. And now, once again, the Columbia County deputies are out and just patrolling the area and making sure that the area is safe.
We'll get the citizens back in their area, but we're still going to maintain a containment area because, well, once again, FDLE will come back in. They have their crime scene folks on scene now, and they'll be processing that. They'll be collecting any weaponry or any items, of interest to the investigation.
Police did say that this is too early to tell in the investigation, but they do believe that this is the result of a domestic violence situation. And right now, bomb squad from the Alachua County Sheriff's Office is just out once again, making sure that the area is safe. Reporting live in Lake City, Duke Carter, TV 20 News.
A shelter has been set up for those Lake City residents who are evacuated from their homes today. The Red Cross has been called out to help as well. TV 20's Kristen Jonas reports some are comparing the chaos brought on by one man to what Mother Nature did to the city back in 2008.
The 3 officers are in stable condition. The suspect and the shots he fired earlier this afternoon have turned this Lake City neighborhood upside down.
I bet he shot probably 50 times or more.
A domestic violence call brought 3 officers to a home in this Lake City neighborhood just after noon.
The suspect, which was a white male, came out of the residence and started firing at the officers.
26-year-old Jesse Custer opened fire, shooting investigator David Greer, Officer Mitchell Klein, and Sergeant Jason Bird. Custer then barricaded himself inside the home for hours. He wasn't exactly alone.
Long guns, shotguns, and possibly some explosives.
People living within a 4-block radius were evacuated and businesses were locked down.
Florida game, highway patrol, city sheriff, like everybody walking around with AK-47s and shotguns and stuff.
For more than 5 hours, officers tried getting Custer out, but were unsuccessful.
At some point, you have to decide that we're going to go in. We took the Bobcat and we started opening up the windows.
According to police, Custer was moving around in the house trying to avoid their equipment.
We're not sure exactly when, but the suspect took his own life.
Greer and Klein have been released from the hospital. Bird had to undergo surgery and is in stable condition.
About the only thing that even came close to this was when the tornadoes came through.
And the aftermath to this tragedy needs some cleaning up as well. Kristen Giannis, TV 20 News.
In other news, a teenage girl held captive for 80 days is safe, and police say her tormentor is now captive in the Alachua County Jail. U.S. Marshals say 31-year-old James Rodney Lucas of Stark held the 17-year-old girl against her will from mid-June to the beginning of September. She was finally freed after Lucas was pulled over for a traffic infraction. The girl finally explained that the pair had floated to and from different homes and motels. She'd tried and failed to get away. U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force caught up with Lucas this afternoon at the America's Best Value Motel on Southwest 13th Street. After a short chase through the parking lot, he was caught. Lucas is charged with child abuse and interference with child custody. 1 down, 4 to go. The first person tried for the murder of 15-year-old Seth Jackson was found guilty by a jury in Marion County this afternoon. As the verdict was read condemning 19-year-old Charlie Ely, there was an audible gasp in the courtroom and tears from the newly convicted woman. The pivotal piece of evidence seemed to be Ely's own statements. Jurors heard her tell a detective in an interrogation video that she knew Jackson would not make it out of the house alive.
This is a tragedy. It's a tragedy for Seth Jackson. It's a tragedy for my client. No one won.
The Jackson family was overwhelmed by hearing again in closing arguments what happened to the 15-year-old. Ely's not been sentenced yet to give the victim's family a chance to decide if they want to speak or not, but the conviction carries a mandatory lifetime prison sentence. The trials for the 4 other defendants are not expected to begin until next year. 4 people were arrested in Columbia County today following an undercover narcotics investigation. Task Force detectives purchased 73 grams of oxycodone during the operation, and when the 4 people delivered the drugs and received cash, they were taken into custody. Here they are. Tina Allen, Alexia Allen, Scott Hayter, and Guy Bonds were all charged with trafficking oxycodone. The charges carry a 25-year minimum mandatory prison sentence if they are convicted. Well, it isn't exactly a case of the sky is falling, but a 6-ton satellite is ready to fall from space. NASA now says the satellite is hanging on in space longer than expected, stalling its death plunge until later this weekend. The solar activity that has sped up its descent has eased, causing it to slow down. Now, there's another problem. They don't know where its remains are going to crash to Earth. Its orbit has changed, which means there's now a slight chance the satellite could crash into the U.S. But experts think that it's unlikely that anyone would be hurt.
The chances of it landing in the ocean is great because the Earth is covered by 75% water. So chances of it hitting a populated area are small, but can't be discounted.
Once the satellite enters Earth's atmosphere, about 25 metal chunks are expected to survive, scattering debris over a 500-mile path. NASA won't have a good idea of where it will come down until shortly before it shows up. Well, it's 2 lemons and a melon for a controversial internet cafe proposal. The Allied Veterans of the World, which had asked Alachua County for a special zoning exception, has withdrawn the request. The proposed location was a former Pizza Vito restaurant on West Newberry Road, but it had generated opposition. Business owners and law enforcement expressed concern at a meeting in August. The cafe would have had slot machine-style games that offered cash prizes. There is no explanation by the attorneys for Allied Veterans as to why the request was dropped. Gainesville Regional Utilities' $54 million East Side Operations Center is just about up and running. GRU workers are moving into the new facility in East Gainesville. The new center consolidates operations from several smaller facilities. It will house 425 employees. That includes IT and operating resources, engineering staff, and a systems controls center. GRU plans to have the Operations Center up and running fully by early October. Meanwhile, GRU repair workers were busy out in the field this afternoon. Some 2,500 customers north of University Avenue, east of 34th Street in Gainesville, lost power for several hours. GRU still hasn't announced the source of the problem, but residents told us a large tree fell on a power line, and that possibly caused the outage. Power was restored to everyone by about 5 o'clock. Well, it's the beginning of the weekend, and we're certainly glad for that, but that does not mean a break when it comes to the weather and the rain we've been having, Mike Gismondi.
Yeah, that's exactly right, David. It looks like we've had a couple of wet days in a row. What about your weekend? I'll let you know coming up right after the break.